Hey everybody, this is Nate Smoyer, and you're listening to the Tech Nest Podcast. This is the show where we sit down with the leaders in real estate and technology to find out what they're doing to transform the way we buy, sell, and invest in real estate. If you've got an interest in real estate and technology, stick around. You're in the right place.
All right, we got a great show for you today. We've got the EVP of Corporate Strategy at a company called Clear Capital. Kenon Chen is joining us, and we covered a ton of things. One of the most fascinating discussions I think we've ever had, unintentionally, more about culture than tech probably, but a lot of lessons. And so let me just read you the description of what Clear Capital does as they describe it. We're pioneering the future of real estate valuation and analytics technology solutions. They work with a lot of lenders on lending products, AVMs, equity solutions. And I love the attitude of this company, right on their LinkedIn page, wherever it leads, whatever it takes. And that's just a sample of some of the culture that we discuss. Now, we also get into what they're doing behind the scenes on tech. Kenon shared that they went through a lot of trouble building a machine learning team to gain an edge on others outside, in the industry, and better identifying and measuring risk. And even after all that tech, they still apply the personal touch of reviewing equity solution products. So a lot of cool things in this show. I think you'll learn quite a bit here. So kick back, enjoy. Well, hey, Kenon, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. And I appreciate your time. Now, I can see you've got sunny blue skies behind you is what it looks like, or in front of you. Is that the reflection from your office glass? I'm a little jealous. It is not sunny blue skies here in Chicago. But all good. I guess that's you're out in the Reno office, correct?
I am. It's nice and clear. It's cold, so it's not showing you how cold it is outside. But it's at least nice and clear.
Well, it looks warm and beautiful from inside.
Yeah.
I want to start off the show proper here, like we always do. Please go ahead, introduce yourself, let everyone know who you are and what you do.
Sure. My name is Kenon Chen. I'm Executive Vice President of Corporate Strategy here at Clear Capital. And, we, as a company, we're a real estate, fintech company really focused on, solving problems with understanding properties and making good decisions around real estate. And, my job is really to ensure we're headed the right direction for what the market needs.
Yep.
And that we're working, across partnerships and alliances to really work together for the good of the whole industry. So it's a ton of fun.
Very cool. So, all right, I went to your LinkedIn page I think I went to the company page and pulled this. One of the things I like to do is I snoop around on all the company pages to find really interesting one-liners and then have everyone explain that one-liner. So I found this one, we're pioneering the future of real estate valuation and analytics technology solutions. Whew. What does that mean? Break that down for me.
I think it's as simple as this. We believe that we can build confidence in real estate decisions, and if we do that well, that actually we end up improving people's lives, because if you build confidence and enable really strong real estate decisions, you end up with a stronger set of not only the economy as a whole but stronger communities.
Right.
And so whether someone's a homeowner, whether you're just living in a community as a renter, we really think that we're integral to enabling the type of place that we all want to live. And
Mm-hmm.
And so whatever modern techniques we need to do to ensure that we get the most real-time complete picture of what's going on that enables those confident decisions.
Yep.
That's what we're striving to do.
Very cool. So, I mean, I look at, I went and looked through the site and all that and did my homework. Cause you guys have quite a few different products and solutions, and we'll get into that a little bit here later on. But let's break it down here. So you talked about it impacting, where people live and what they can buy, but who is the actual customer of Clear Capital? Who do you sell to?
Yeah. So we directly sell to our direct customers are, mainly folks in the financial industry, but also in the prop tech world. But, we work with businesses and, they can be lenders, investors, loan servicers.
Yep.
We work pretty closely with the GSEs, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. But we also work, with iBuyers, and with other consumer facing, prop tech companies as well. So we work through businesses, but we always keep our eye on who are our customer.
Right.
How do we ensure that we're really helping them be successful?
Well, because if you know the customer's customer, then you know what's being demanded from them, and so you can kind of isolate pain points that you're able to solve. Now, I didn't intend on asking this one because I didn't see this turning into iBuyers, but I have to ask: you're not telling me that iBuyers aren't building their own AVMs, are you?
Well, I think there's a lot of different strategies, out there that they have, but we're fortunate to have the reputation that if you need an accurate value, whether it be an automated one or you really need to accurately understand the condition of the property to make a good decision there, whether it's I instant buying or another approach that
right.
Folks end up coming to us. So.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of different variations to your question.
Yeah.
We're doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Obviously, I know with some of the brokerage players announcing that they were going to iBuying, I kind of looked at it with a side eye. I was like, wait a minute, you're telling me you guys have suddenly built what? Hey, I could be wrong. I don't know. I have been a few times. So, you guys have been in this business since 2001, right?
Yep.
You've been working with real estate companies and lenders. I think I found on the site you guys are with 47 of the top 50 lenders. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're a pretty household name, but you're behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What are some of the reasons companies seek out to work with you? Because getting 47 out of the top 50 says you're probably good on delivering what you say you do. Like that's a pretty big bragging point. So what is it that people, when they call up Clear Capital or they're looking on the site or they talk to one of your sales or business development reps, ultimately what pushes them over and say, yeah, we want to work with you guys?
Yeah. A lot of our growth that we've been, fortunate to have has been through word of mouth. And has been, we use the phrase proof in the pudding a lot,
Mm-hmm.
Folks that actually have experience working with us. It's a small, industry in terms of number of players. And I
Yep.
think that, that as folks kind of communicate the experience they've had, that certainly helps. It's so much about who we are, not just what we do. The reason why we started in Lake Tahoe is because we found that there was a bunch of radical snowboarding, rock climbing people that were willing to jump off a cliff for fun, but then at the same time, being in a small community, you also have to be a great neighbor, and you have to be willing to pull people out of a snowdrift, and you're not afraid so to do it, which means that when you apply that to customer service, that means that I'm not afraid to solve your problem. I'm going to go after it, but I want to help you because I know the value of helping other people. And that DNA, that initial culture and DNA, I think is what has led to, building these really great relationships with some of the largest lenders and investors.
I would have never thought that. Like maybe companies should be looking for the communities of people who have the most extreme hobbies. Like I ride BMX, and I don't ride nearly as much as I used to. but I still get out there and pedal around and jump curbs and do all the things that I was when I was 15. I never would have thought, hey, maybe those people would be the best, because if they're willing to put themselves at risk for doing that for free, what would they do, if it was part of their job or career? So that's kind of an interesting perspective to take. Well, I can't wait to hear that more people are putting that on their resume, the front line, willing to jump off a cliff for fun. Yeah. What will I do for you? There's the new career advice for everyone listening. So I want to talk about some of the products and really the different level, because first off, you guys break it down between products and solutions. Like, you have it as like two different categories on the site. Well, can you break it down why you have it in those two different categories and what's the main difference there?
Yeah, I mean, products are the building blocks, is the way I think of it. We've ensured that we have the full suite of valuation products from automated valuation models all the way to full blown appraisals, with an interior view of the property, and then everything in between. And then we also offer, of course, software solutions as well to help folks manage the due diligence process and ordering valuations and review. But those are building blocks, right? I mean, and ultimately though, we're trying to solve people's problems, and we're trying to help reduce friction for our customers, remove steps. So we combine our products in different ways based on the need to really address specific industry needs, like home equity, right? For home equity lending, how do we help them? It's not just going to be one product. It's going to be the right product at the right time for the right situation.
Yeah, I mean, right now is a great time. Well, if all things, for a lot of people, getting a HELOC or it makes a lot of sense, because as far as I understand, and you would know more about the lending industry than I would, but there's a lot of equity right now tied up in people's personal homes from the last few years of buying, and then the rapid market appreciation we've been seeing largely is due to the market trying to catch back up to previous valuations, essentially. The recovery effort, if you will. And so I'm actually curious in talking more about that. So this would, to me, on the surface, it would seem like this is probably something that people are looking to you and leaning on you more in recent, the last year or two than previously. What are some of the real tangible ways that you come in and partner with someone that on the home equity lending side?
Yeah, I think I just saw, I think it was the December housing finance report from Urban Institute. I mean, it's up to something like $19 trillion of equity in the U.S. housing market, right? So, I think it was maybe 14 and a half, a year prior. So yeah, enormous growth in that people are still not quite tapping into, right? We haven't really seen second liens coming back quite yet, but we know it's coming at some point. We see that there's homes, that the home inventory is aging, right? A lot of folks that are buying their first home are buying an older home. Yep. And yet, because the home prices are still continuing to appreciate, it's hard to sell that older home and just bounce up to the next tier, right, of property. So what does that mean? If you're there still in an older home, your next move is perhaps to remodel, right? Mm-hmm. And so at some point we think there will be this demand for equity products. How we help with that is, we want to help lenders, offer a really, I guess, viable alternative to an unsecured loan, right? So for an unsecured loan, you can get those very quickly. You can get $20,000, $50,000 deposited pretty quickly into your account.
Yep.
And whereas home equity line of credits, are still taking longer than 30 days. Mine
took almost 60.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it took what was it, like 3? I was so irritated because I was tweeting at my friends at Notarize. I was like, can you please work with this bank? This is just, I don't want to meet another mobile notary who's going to jack up all the paperwork and have to meet another one at the coffee shop down the street. Like it was just horrendous. It was a terrible experience.
Yeah. And often, unfortunately, it's still the appraisal that's one of the longest poles in the tent, so we want to really enable lenders to offer, faster solutions by removing at least our piece of the puzzle, right? Reducing friction for the appraisal itself. So that means, first of all, we have to have a really solid AVM, lending grade AVM that with context, so that our customers know when to trust it, when we feel highly confident, and then we need to also take a look at that property and say, is it really suitable for an automated valuation, or because this is maybe something atypical, this is a little more of a complex situation, there's not as much data to support it. Hey, now's the time to go to more of a desktop, solution or hybrid solution, or maybe, let's go with a full drive-by appraisal, So we want to provide the recommendation right up front so that they can offer the best option to their customer.
So I'll take my HELOC, for instance. It's on an investment property back in Washington, closed on it like 3 or 4 months ago. I'm looking for a needle in a haystack. I'm looking for that commercial buyer or seller who wants to do seller financing, and I'm going to use a HELOC. And then, I can write the blog post how I bought a commercial property, zero cash out of pocket. Because that's the popular thing. Okay, but I don't want to get too distracted. So the appraisal, I was getting concerned. I was like, shoot, here I am in Chicago. I got work. I got to do that thing. I want to get it to appraise. I called up my handyman. I was like, hey, Brady, I got some work for you, man. Like, here's some things I need you to do. And I was really trying to button up the edges, right? Things around, because I know that having worked as a real estate agent, first impressions just make a big difference on how you judge something. So I was like, the appraisal's going to come out and they're going to look at stuff. And then I got the appraisal copy, I got it back in the mail, and it was literally photos of a drive-by, full on, never got out of the car and parked, drive-by. Is that because, so leading up to the question here, is that because they're working with a smart tool like you guys that's referencing, hundreds or thousands of other properties with similar profiles to really put the picture together and tying it back to my financial info? Is that what's happening that enables that appraiser to make that easy? Because that was actually the easiest part of the whole process.
Yeah, it's all about data, right? Some processes are more sophisticated than others. I think there's a number of home equity lenders that are just still doing a traditional appraisal. It's a drive-by appraisal, but right. Using kind of traditional methods. We have access to a pretty robust set of data, understanding what's in the market around that property, its history, and then other analytics models that we can put in front of someone, at their desk, but someone has local market expertise. To I think, conclude a value that's really within the tolerance that the lenders, feels comfortable with. But it's still taking a while for folks to get comfortable again, right, with automated valuations since the market crash. It's a slow move towards.
But we have better data now. We have better ways of, and I'm assuming I don't want to talk for you guys, but you have more exhaustive, you have better ways of looking at it. Is there anything that you're doing that, because I see, everyone's doing machine learning, everyone's doing artificial intelligence. I don't see you guys championing that as your marketing front, but just by chance, is there any of that happening on the back end that's enabling you guys to have that leg up on others?
Yeah, absolutely. We, in fact, we've needed to spend and have spent a ton of time investing in a top-notch data science team. First of all, a top-notch machine learning team. And we're fortunate to be near Silicon Valley, to be near the Bay Area, and to be able to pull from companies like Facebook and others that have really led the way on this, and we have brought a lot of those machine learning engineers into our organization. Because that's a big part of what we do. It's certainly behind our AVM. It's behind our ability to understand comparable properties around the subject.
Yeah.
I don't think you can really be a modern player in this space if you're not embracing those types of techniques.
Got it. And obviously, this is a show about tech and real estate, but there was something that stood out to me though, and you kind of alluded to it, but I want to really make sure we address it. There's something that stood out to me on your website because you guys talk about how you still have human reviews of some of your equity, your home equity lending solutions. Like even though you've got the AVMs and you've got the data, you have this machine learning team, there are moments when you bring in someone and say, hey, you need to manually review this. Why not just let the AVM and the software do the work? Why bring someone in on this?
There's power to a human being in the loop at the right time. We've made a lot of advances recently around computer vision, the ability to understand what's happening in photos, but it's not really there yet. Anyone that tells you that it's there and you can just walk away and let it run by itself.
Just set it and forget it, man.
Yeah, that's a marketing play, right? Because really it's not there, at the point. So it's really then about how do we identify risk, and then based on the risk that we see running our automated tools, then take the right action to put it in front of a human with the right training, the right skill set to do quality assurance on the product. So it's man and machine working together, and then taking that feedback. This is the human in the loop part. Taking the decision that the human made, and then putting that back into our data so we can learn from it and continue to improve.
I mean, that makes sense to me, and honestly, it makes sense that if it came up in a sales situation where someone was like, "Well, I don't want your machines to totally jack up our whole loan process," right? I mean, that's where you could say, look, we have stopgaps. We have people so that, nothing's just kind of operating like I said, set it and forget it. Like nothing works just like that. There's really, you guys are putting the care and attention into each deal. So very cool. And I think that, I think that's good. And I think that, end consumers probably aren't experiencing or seeing that touch, but it's appreciated. I am curious though, are you, you guys get a little bit of a head advance, like a better pulse, I think, on where the market is shifting, like where sales trends and finance trends, because people are inquiring about them before they close the deals, which means you guys could be 30 days, 60 days ahead of where everyone else is, where the market's heading. Are you seeing any particular trends of some markets are hotter than others right now when it comes to the equity solution? Because I'm just fascinated by how much value right now is tied up, and I think that it'd be interesting to hear which markets are taking advantage of that more than others.
We're not seeing so we do have a market forecast tool and the ability to look what's happening from a home price standpoint. The home equity piece, I personally don't have as much clarity on that. Okay. What I can say is that, that there's a lot of movement, of course, around cash out refis versus home equity products, especially over the past year. Mm-hmm. And I think we're all, watching to see, well, how are things going to shape up in 2020? When do the refis really die down based on, rates, staying steady or maybe just inching up a bit so that people are looking at other types of loan products. Yeah. But from our standpoint, we're getting ready for it. We're ensuring that we've got, I think, an answer to both automated solutions and then again, helping recommend, when not to use an automated solution, because that's almost as important, right? As okay, now's not the time. Here's the approach to take. So that's been a lot of our focus from our machine learning teams too.
Oh, interesting. I wouldn't have thought that would be part of the recommendation of when not to use automated. But I mean, Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I want to keep going here. So, we kind of talked about this before we jumped on the phone a little bit about, and you talked here earlier talking about like some of the culture that's been key to growth. You guys have been in business since '01, almost 20 years now. What's something that's really been significant in helping Clear Capital over the years continue growth and prosper? Because you guys have a few hundred employees now, and I mean, that's not small. These are not small potatoes we're talking about. So like, what's some of the keys that you've seen that has helped you guys grow over time?
Some of the longevity has been around, I think a willingness to take care of our customers, where they're going, to basically move to what their needs are, and stay nimble, right? So that we can, quickly respond to not only market need, but also to individual customers. And that's earned us the right to innovate. So, so by putting our customers first, 5-10 years later, we have, additional opportunities, to help them move forward, because of that track record. So, I mean, our customer ID number one in our database is still a customer today.
Wow.
So that, that length of time of working with someone and then knowing who you are and seeing how we respond in different market conditions, seeing how we, address, challenges, even if we drop the ball, we're able to pick it back up and improve and make sure that doesn't happen again. So I think that's more than anything, that's what creates the resilience. And then just hiring the right people. I know we're a tech company and we talk a lot about, the data, the analytics and technology, but it's still all being created by people for people. And so we have one of our core values. I'm actually sitting in my conference room right now. I can see one of our core values on the wall here, but it's hire nice people. Our first ad in the paper, in 2001 said, looking for nice people. And it sounds kind of silly or kind of cheesy or whatever, but
I think that says a lot about you guys, that you've been around long enough to have had run ads in the newspaper. I know you're not still running ads in the newspaper, but
no.
The fact that you guys even had to do that to find new employees is incredible.
Absolutely. But you can't teach nice, right? You can, there's a lot of skill sets you can, teach and train, but just treating people right, that's either you're raised that way or not, I guess. I don't know.
No, I think you're totally right. I mean, it's not always there. And, there's one thing I found that I thought said a lot. And what's fascinating to me is I never plan, I plan the direction of these interviews, but I don't always dictate exactly where they're going. And I had no idea how far into culture we would go here. And I'm greatly enjoying this here. I love the banner on your LinkedIn page, wherever it leads, whatever it takes. It's got the little registered mark to it. You guys registered that.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like that's kind of like a driving force for you guys, wherever the market goes and do whatever it takes. Am I picking that up correctly?
Yeah, it's a philosophy. It's another one of our core values. Early on, as we got especially into the BPO industry, broker price opinions for both capital markets and servicing, and the status quo of the day was that a company would get an order of say 1,000 BPOs or whatever. And there were 1,000 properties that they needed to do BPOs on, and they're like, okay, great, we got these 900 done, but the other 100 are kind of too hard, so good luck with that. And our approach was no, like if you ask us to do 1,000, we're going to do 1,000. We're going to do 100% of these, no matter what it takes. And it led to stories like properties up in Alaska, and helping one of our broker partners hire a dog sled to be able to get out to a remote, property or a plane to go land on an island, like that type of crazy stuff. And and we love it. So that's where that kind of statement came from.
That's so cool. Yeah. So I'm adding that to my chat because I'm hiring right now. So I'm now looking for nice people, cliff divers. Just add that to the list. I think it's pretty cool. I mean, it's obviously and then, probably part of that is, it's very clear that you guys have a very distinct culture. We talk about fundraising on the show pretty frequently because, in prop tech right now, it's a big topic, and it's also, it's one of the things that's just shortening the time it takes to build big businesses. And there's so much opportunity around real estate and in the intersection of real estate and technology and really changing this industry. But you guys haven't raised money. You didn't take venture capital to get up and off the ground and to build to the point you're at. And I don't know. I mean, I've only got the revenue numbers from Crunchbase. Have no idea how close or far off they are, but doesn't really matter. At several hundred employees, I can make some guesses to where you guys are at. How do you think not raising money has affected the business and the trajectory and longevity of it?
It's been our view. One is that we're in this to affect an industry and to make a lasting impact. We want to be a company where you can look back 20 years from now and say, remember when it used to be done this way, and then these crazy Clear Capital folks came along and changed the way things are done. I mean, we take the long view and so because of that, we've been fortunate, number one, early on to be profitable, right? So right away we were profitable and we were able to take the approach of reinvesting back to the company and growing in a healthy way.
Yep.
But yeah, we've been very fortunate to be successful with that approach, but also to take the long view, realizing that if we're going to change the industry, we need to be willing to be in it through cycles.
I mean, you got to be here.
You got to be here, and then number two, you have to be the best.
Yeah.
It's really hard to change something if no one wants to follow you. So that's been more of our mindset.
Yeah. No, that's very cool. And I think that's pretty cool. Obviously though, I'm curious. So your take on it. So, and I don't follow to a T the lending industry and even the tech behind the lending industry all that much, but you have a lot of new style lenders. Really, the age of the broker has come upon us, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And I don't, like I said, I don't follow it all that closely, but what are your thoughts on some of the disruption that's happening in the lending industry and, overall landscape? Is that going to change? Are consumers really still going to go into a bank to apply for mortgages, or is it really all going to happen, at our fingertips? Because I don't even envision people going to their laptop or desktop computer until the contract comes in. And even then, as an agent, when I worked as a real estate agent, like we were signing contracts and editing them on our phones. So like, because it's all digital signature anymore. So I'm just curious, like, what do you foresee as some of the changes coming to the overall lending industry and even down to the consumer?
Yeah, I saw a really great survey actually that Fannie Mae did on lender sentiment, and one of the things that came out of that was a belief by lenders that that improving the front end experience, the consumer experience, was actually more important than even the back end operational, efficiency. And then at the same time, you have, this understanding now that, home purchases starts with an online search, typically one of the big, online portals, right? And so there's a realization from the front that, hey, we want to keep folks in our ecosystem longer because we believe we can deliver a better experience.
Yep.
And then you have folks on the back end knowing that they need to move, forward towards the consumer, and that if they do so, they actually have better returns on the back end than if they just fix the pipes behind the scenes. So all of this is creating this momentum, I think, towards towards a better consumer experience, and which is great, really, because I think we all win, right, when you remove that friction from the most stressful transaction of most people's lives.
And it is stressful. I mean, even just, what, there's just so many things that can go wrong. There's so many worries. And I think even now, a lot of it, it's heightened. I think the stress has heightened because the time to get a deal under contract is shortened. Like days on market is shorter. Competitiveness in a lot of markets is higher. So then you're seeing, and I explained this to my wife. We had some friends that were shopping for properties and they shared their budget, and I gave them some pro tips on what they could do and how they could work it. And I knew right away, I was like, they're going to miss out on the first 2 homes at their price point because they got overbid. And then they're going to up their budget and they're going to get overbid. And then they're going to up their budget and buy something that's overvalued or overpriced. And it's exactly what they did, because of all those pressures and stresses. And so I don't know the right solution, but I tend to agree with you. I see a lot on the front end, like trying to get more people into the funnel, as in like you're going to lose them. But I think one evidence of what you're talking about, I don't know anything about Chase Mortgage's actual product, but they were doing something like there was like a guarantee they'll close within 28 days, or like a few $1,000. And I thought it was interesting. I was like, well, I mean, by standard, we write all contracts at 30 days. So I hope so.
Yeah.
It was basically saying we will hit the standard normal guarantee. Like I want to see a 15-day. That's what I would be excited about, but maybe that's asking too much. Well, I'm excited. I think more banks need to be working with you guys. Everybody's got to be working with you guys.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's almost more. I mean, what I get from that is that it's more important to provide certainty as what's going to happen, than to just be faster.
Yes. Yeah. Right. I mean, that feedback loop. People want to know, hey, what are you promising, and are you going to do it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the earlier you can communicate with certainty, here's the path we're going down.
Yep.
It's going to be all right. The property is a big part of that. How long is it going to take to value it? Is it going to come in at value? And is it what investor programs, is it eligible for based on what's going on at the property? Does it meet, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac's requirements? So that's where we see, some of the biggest impact that we can have early on in the process, right at point of sale. Hey, here's what we see. Here's what's going on. Here's the advice you can start giving to all of the parties involved there, so that stress is removed and there aren't, downstream things that just blow the deal up.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Well, I want to keep moving here. And this is probably my favorite part of the show because we get to get you to make some predictions. So we call this For the Future. For the Future is a segment where I get to ask each guest who comes on the show to give their best predictions based on the following 4 questions. Kenon, are you ready to play?
I am ready.
All right, let's do this. Question number 1, what does Clear Capital look like 1 year from now?
We look like a company that's starting to bridge the gap between prop tech and fintech. And what I mean by that is bringing the certainty of what an investor wants with closer to the experience that a consumer is going to have. So knowing with certainty what options they're going to have earlier on in the process. So a company that's really enabling that even more so than before.
Got it. Question number 2. What will prop tech as an industry look like 1 year from now?
Well, I have been seeing statements like, even 2020 is the year that the one-click home purchase is possible.
There's a few companies saying that.
Yeah. I will predict that will be possible a year from now, but not necessarily done a lot.
Yeah. There's no way in the world I'm waiving my inspection contingency. No way. And it's got to be such a killer deal. And even then, I don't know. One click is like terrifying to think of.
It is, but I think folks just want to prove out that it could happen, right?
Yeah.
And then, all right, cool. Let's back down from there.
Yeah. Very cool. Question number 3. What's one industry trend you think will continue, but you wish would go away?
Protectionism for the sake of protectionism.
Oh.
Meaning, the trend of, fighting to protect something for your own sake, as opposed to striving, to serve the consumer or the end, the customer of our customer, right? I think, I see companies and certain, groups of folks just, fighting to protect rather than fighting to improve and innovate. And, I'd love to see less of that.
All right. Question number 4, the final for the future. What's one thing you believe will dramatically change or fade away in real estate as a result of technological advances?
Well, certainly, you said it, the 60-day, home equity line of credit decision. There's a number of startups able to do a 5-day, right? Close. So I think, the days that's acceptable, are going away. I think the standard's been set now, that it's more about this, it's more about the speed that a homeowner or borrower is able to move, rather than the speed that a lending institution is able to move, right? I think it's about it being more consumer focused.
Yeah. There's a great book called Friction by an author of the name Roger Dooley. And interestingly enough, there are times where it makes sense to introduce friction that cause consumers to take more trust in the process. And I took away a lesson he cited about Nextdoor, actually, in that book. But there's actually a whole suite of internet plugins and tools that simulate friction. And a lot of people don't realize this. There's a lot of websites that simulate like loading time. It's not loading or calculating. It got done doing that minutes ago. It's just telling you that so you think that there's brains behind it or working behind, going on. But I think that's interesting to think about here. Okay, well, last ones. These are the last 3. Kenon, these are questions more about you, so our listeners get to know you better. First one is, what are you reading?
Oh, that's the last book that I just read was the 5 Temptations of a CEO.
5 Temptations of a CEO.
Yeah. Really looking at how, as leaders, you can assure that we're not looking out for our own ambitions and careers, but that we're, looking at how to make others successful and get results for our customers. And just not falling into those traps of things like, just becoming popular, as opposed to actually.
I want to be an influencer too, man.
we believe if you do the right thing and you add value, then the
totally.
success will come. Yeah,
I agree. Very cool. I'm adding that one to my my Amazon wish list.
Nice.
Question number 2: who are you learning from?
Oh, everyone. I mean, I learn every day from my, from my team, from my peers, from my. Actually, I probably learned the most from my 2.5-year-old daughter. Just seeing, how she sees the world, and what questions she has and what makes sense to her. I learn a lot from that, because just trying to figure out how do I explain things in a way that, that breaking things down to their essence, I guess, and that actually it does end up translating back into business, right? Like not being overcomplicated and just, shiny object, but like, what's the essence of this thing, and what's really important. So yeah, I do as much as I can to be open to, to learning from unlikely sources.
That's very cool. I can appreciate that approach. And I think we've had quite a few other people on the show who have mentioned their kids teaching them the most. It's not inspired me to go that route yet. I'll tell you, I'm happy with a dog, but I do appreciate everyone sharing that advice. All right, last one here. Speaking of inspiration, what inspires you?
I'm inspired by music, creativity. I'm a musician as well, so I get a lot of inspiration.
Oh, very cool.
Being creative there. I'm looking out right now at the mountains here around Reno, Sierra Nevadas, and I get inspired a lot by nature, it's just hard not to. But I get refueled by things, I think, outside of what I do job wise, but then it brings it right back in and lets me be creative here too.
I love that. Yeah, I like to go hiking, especially when I'm back in the Northwest. So, I would totally relate to being out in the mountains and being inspired by that. Kenon, this has been awesome. I really appreciate your time. I think obviously you guys are a little bit like working behind the scenes, but there's so much to gain from that. And I hope everyone, who's listening, takes away some of the lessons that clearly you guys have built something that's got significant longevity. You're on the cutting edge. You're dominating your space. No way around it. So I think that's great. And kudos to you guys for rocking and rolling. Before we close out the show though, for those who want to either get connected with you or learn more about Clear Capital, where do they go? How do they do that?
Well, certainly LinkedIn. They can find me on LinkedIn. I think I'm the only Kenon Chen out there. So I'm pretty easy to find.
There you go.
Of course. And thanks so much for having me on, and really appreciate it.
Yeah, totally. It was my pleasure. I have a great time with this. So, very good. And, of course, let's feel free to keep in touch. And, but until next time, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Cool. Thank you.
Well, that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening to the TechNest podcast. Hey, don't forget you can get on the email list so you never miss an upcoming episode. That's technest.io. That's technest.io. Get on the email list. Go to the App Store, whether you found us on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, wherever you found us. Leave us a 5-star review and share it with your friends. And if you've got a guest or someone that you'd like to recommend, or if you think that you'd be a great guest on the show, hey, send me an email, nate@realteampanda.com. That's nate@realteampanda.com. See you guys later.